Libra, my dear soul, on December 1920, a truth will be revealed that may bring you to tears. Not tears of sorrow, but tears of recognition. Of release. Of divine timing finally arriving. Welcome to Zodiac Whisper Tarot. This is not just a horoscope, it is a sacred moment, an energetic alignment, and a spiritual message crafted just for you. If you found your way to this video, let me be clear, it is not a coincidence. You were meant to be here. There is something your soul has been longing to hear, and today, you will hear it. There is a cosmic opening happening around December 19th and 20th, a gateway that brings hidden truths into the light. And with it, something you have felt deep in your heart will finally be confirmed. It might come through a conversation, a quiet realization, or even a dream you cannot shake. But it will reach you, and when it does, it will break the chains you've carried silently for far too long. You, Libra, are the sign of balance, but you have been holding the scales alone. You've kept the peace when no one asked how you were feeling. You've smiled when you were aching inside. You've forgiven before anyone said sorry. But now, that pattern is ending. Because the truth, your truth, is stepping into the light. You may find yourself waking at 3 a.m. with a heavy chest or feeling an invisible weight being lifted. You might see repeating signs, numbers, names, glimpses of the past returning in unexpected ways. These are not random. These are divine whispers, signals from something greater that has never stopped guiding you. If you've ever whispered, "God, please show me a sign," then let this message be your confirmation. Let this video be the moment the answer arrives. Now, pause. Take a breath with me. And if something in your heart is already reacting, if you feel a pull, a tremble, a knowing, I invite you to confirm that connection. Leave a comment below with the number 222. Let it be a declaration to the universe that you are ready to receive. That you are here, awake, and willing to let the message land. And before we go deeper, let me take a moment to thank you truly. Your presence here means everything. Every like, every comment, every share, and every subscription brings you deeper into this soul-led community we are building together at Zodiac Whisper Tarot. Thank you sincerely for being part of this. Your energy supports the light work we do here, and your trust is what keeps this channel growing. Now listen closely, Libra. What the universe is revealing this week is not ordinary. It is sacred. It is personal. And I promise, you'll want to stay with me until the final moment of this video. Because what's coming is not just a message. It is a transformation. So let me ask you, what is it that your soul has been ready to hear all along? And why has it found you now? Something begins to stir beneath the surface when celestial bodies shift, and this week, Libra, the sky moves for you. Not with thunder or spectacle, but with a quiet nudge, the kind that only souls as attuned as yours can sense. As the moon transitions from Scorpio into Sagittarius, a subtle unraveling occurs. You may not notice it at first, but you'll feel it in the way your body softens when you allow yourself to truly feel, rather than brace. This movement marks a gentle but profound release, and for someone like you, someone who has been carrying the weight of silent adjustments and emotional moderation, it can feel like a long-awaited exhale. Venus, your ruling planet, now forms a rare and harmonious trine with Neptune. In astrology, this alignment is a whisper of grace, a bridge between what we value and what we've been afraid to see. It opens the energetic space for compassion to flow, not just toward others, but finally toward yourself. What once felt uncertain, foggy, or unspoken may now emerge with clarity, not to overwhelm you, but to offer you the healing that comes from being truly seen, even if only by yourself. You've often played the role of the peacemaker, Libra. The one who holds steady while others sway. But peacekeeping is exhausting when it comes at the cost of your own emotional truth. This alignment is not asking you to abandon your nature, it's asking you to finally include yourself in the peace you try to maintain for everyone else. Sometimes the most divine balance is not between two people, but between truth and silence, between holding on and letting go. As emotions rise this week, they are not weaknesses, they are sacred messengers. They speak for the versions of you who didn't have the words before, who didn't know they were allowed to cry, to grieve, to let their hands fall open and say, I don't have to hold this anymore. This isn't about breakdowns. This is about breaking open to release, to recalibrate, to re-enter your life not as the version that held everything together, but as the version that finally chooses to heal. And perhaps this week's shift is no accident. Maybe it arrives now because you are finally safe enough, ready enough, still enough to witness what once overwhelmed you. And if you find yourself crying without knowing exactly why, let the tears fall. They are your soul's way of making room. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to justify your sensitivity or translate your heart into something logical. Emotion is not the opposite of strength, it is its origin. In your quiet moments, perhaps you'll hear something deeper speaking, a memory, a message, a name, a vision. It doesn't have to be loud to be real. Even in your silence, you are being guided. Some call it grace. Some call it the Holy Spirit. Some call it the deep breath of God. Whatever name you give it, there is something gentle but mighty working on your behalf, not from above, but from within. In those in-between spaces between sleep and wake, between now and what's next, you may feel it, that unshakable knowing that you are not alone in this healing. Give yourself the permission to rest in that. Let yourself unravel. Let the sky speak through you. Let your body be the place where old patterns dissolve and new truths take root. And when the urge to suppress returns, because it will meet it not with resistance but with curiosity, ask yourself, what if this is the moment I stop holding everything for everyone else and start holding space for me? Let that question carry you through the days ahead. Let it soften the sharp edges inside you. Let it remind you that you don't have to earn rest, or clarity, or grace. They are already yours, waiting, as always, for you to receive them. Sometimes, truth doesn't arrive as a thunderous revelation, it arrives as a whisper you've heard before, but only now are ready to believe. That's what this week's tarot message holds for you, Libra. It's not something you've never known. It's something you've carried deep inside, hidden beneath layers of silence, loyalty, and quiet endurance. And now, through the sacred archetypes of the cards, that truth is finally being spoken, not to hurt you, but to set you free. The High Priestess emerges first, not as a surprise, but as a confirmation. Her presence is a mirror of your own intuition, that voice within you that has whispered the same message over and over, waiting for you to stop doubting yourself. She's not loud. She doesn't demand. She knows what you know, and she gently reminds you that knowing is enough. You don't need others to validate what your soul has already seen. What you felt was never just a suspicion. It was real. And now it's being affirmed, possibly by something unexpected, a message, a return, a moment of clarity that you didn't even ask for, but needed more than you knew. Then comes the Ten of Swords. A card many fear, but one that I believe is among the most liberating. Because when you've been carrying invisible weight for too long, sometimes the deepest healing comes not from one more try, but from the final surrender. This isn't the end of you, it's the end of the version of you that kept holding on to what never held you back in return. The Ten of Swords doesn't scream tragedy, it whispers release. And it asks, what if letting go isn't giving up? What if it's grace? What if the chapter closing is the one your soul has been praying to finish, even when your mind wasn't ready? And finally, the Star. She doesn't rush in. She waits for the silence after the storm. She appears when you've cleared enough space to actually receive. She is soft light after the collapse. The peace that follows honesty. The clarity that only comes after you've been broken open enough to let light in. This card is not just about hope, it's about alignment. It's about your ability to heal without needing to explain why you hurt. It's about remembering that you don't have to chase love, success, or restoration. When you return to your truth, they find you. What these three cards reveal together is a pattern: the intuitive knowing, the release of pain, and the renewal of purpose. That is the emotional and energetic arc you are being invited to step into. But here's the deeper layer: this is not just a reading. It's a reflection of how the universe partners with you. Whether you call it divine design, or simply the law of energetic return, you are now witnessing the unfolding of something you've co-created through every silent act of grace you've made. Every time you chose peace over reaction. Every time you held on a little longer, or let go when it would have been easier to cling. These cards show you that none of that was wasted. And in everyday life, these moments matter. This is where faith meets self-leadership. Where spiritual truth becomes emotional action. Where the unseen becomes the strength you stand on. You don't need to believe in miracles to experience one, you just need to be willing to stop standing in the way of what's already trying to reach you. And when you do, the way forward reveals itself quietly, fully, and in perfect timing. Just like this moment. There's something quietly sacred about the moments when you wake in the middle of the night with no alarm, no noise, just the steady rhythm of your own breath and a heaviness you can't quite name. Around 3 a.m., often referred to as the veil hour, you may feel something shift in your chest, a presence in the room, or a soft awareness that someone from your past is stirring within your thoughts. This hour isn't designed to startle you. It's a gentle invitation. A space between spaces where clarity whispers, not shouts, and the invisible parts of your healing begin to rise. For many, this time brings memories or the emotional echoes of people who once held space in your story. They may reappear now, not to revive old wounds, but to help you finally release them. If someone shows up unexpectedly, physically or energetically, it doesn't mean you must open the door again. It simply means your soul is offering you a final choice, to carry or to let go. To forgive or to cling. To revisit or to finally close the loop with quiet peace. Letting go isn't forgetting. It's remembering without resentment. And that is its own kind of freedom. You are not who you were when that relationship, that story, or that version of you first formed. Growth has changed you. And with that growth comes the permission to set new boundaries, speak new truths, and choose a version of love that doesn't cost your self-worth. Love the kind that's aligned with who you are now will never require you to abandon yourself. It will never ask you to shrink to be held. Real love meets you in your expansion, not in your sacrifice. This phase of your life is asking you to soften your grip not on your standards, but on the stories you've told yourself about what you deserve. It's okay to admit that you once accepted less than what you needed. It's okay to acknowledge that a part of you thought staying small was safer than starting over. But today, the energy around you is asking a new question. What if letting go is the first step toward receiving something greater? Sometimes, we wait for a voice from outside to give us permission to walk away. But the truth is, that voice often starts within. It begins with a quiet acknowledgement that peace is more valuable than proving a point. That silence can be an answer. That distance can be a form of love. You don't need a final apology to heal. You don't need a clear explanation to move forward. You only need to decide that your well-being matters more than staying available to people who couldn't honor you the first time. Letting go isn't a grand event. It's not always a conversation or a declaration. Often, it's just a breath, one where you finally exhale what you've been holding far too long. It's the moment you stop rehearsing the past and start preparing for what's meant to come. It's subtle. It's sacred. And it changes everything. So if you've been feeling that pull to delete the number, to step back from the energy, to stop giving your light to places that dim you, consider this your gentle confirmation. You are not walking away from love. You are walking toward a version of it that will never ask you to hide. If this speaks to where you are, take a moment to breathe and anchor it into your reality. Say it aloud or write it in the comments below. I release what holds me back. I step into the truth. I no longer have to prove I am worthy of love, I already am. Let that be your prayer tonight. Not one of longing, but one of clarity. One of return not to the past, but to yourself. Just as emotional energy moves through the body and reveals where healing is needed, the same is true in your external life, in your finances, your work, and your sense of personal abundance. Around December 1920, the shift you've been sensing isn't only internal. It begins to take form in the world around you, especially in the areas where you've worked in silence, waited with patience, or questioned whether your efforts were ever truly seen. But Libra, what you need to know now is this: the universe never forgets where energy has been planted with intention. Every small act of integrity, every decision you made aligned with your values, is now rippling back toward you in the form of opportunity and reward. This window of time is one where delayed recognition might finally arrive. Not with fanfare, but with precision. A job you once thought lost, a client who ghosted, or an application that disappeared into silence may now return, not because it missed you the first time, but because the energy around you has finally aligned to receive it without desperation. Similarly, a payment long overdue, or even a surprise sum of money, may find its way back to you. Not as a lucky break, but as part of your energetic return. In astrology and energy work, we understand that money is not just a material currency, it's an energetic one. It moves where there is trust, where there is clarity, where there is openness to receive. If your relationship with money has been shaped by fear, lack, or overgiving, this is your moment to recalibrate that frequency. Don't be tempted to jump at the first offer that comes just because you're afraid it won't come again. Instead, allow your healed energy to lead your response. Ask yourself, am I accepting this because it aligns with my worth, or because I'm afraid of missing out? Your answer will reveal where your energy truly is. Sometimes, blessings disguise themselves as choices. That's why clarity is so important right now. To help anchor that clarity, you can support yourself through the language of color. White holds the vibration of truth and transparency when you're making financial decisions or setting intentions around new opportunities. Green invites emotional balance and renewal. Use it when you're ready to reconnect with work in a way that nourishes rather than drains you. And gold, perhaps the most powerful of all, is the color of divine worth, confidence, and receiving without guilt. Whether you wear it, surround yourself with it, or visualize it as a light pouring over your life, let gold remind you that your value is not up for negotiation. When we speak of miracles, we often think of the extraordinary. But sometimes, the real miracle is when you realize you no longer feel anxious before checking your bank account. When you wake up with clarity instead of confusion. When you walk into a meeting and no longer feel like you have to prove your worth because you know it, and so does everyone else in the room. So allow yourself to slow down this week, to notice where life is shifting in your favor. Don't rush to say yes. Let your response come from peace, not pressure. And remember, receiving is not a reward, it's your right. There's a difference between chasing abundance and welcoming it. This is your time to welcome. If this resonates with you, take a moment to affirm it. Say it softly or type it clearly below. I am ready to receive with peace. I welcome abundance that aligns with my worth. Let this be your energetic signature for what is already on its way. Sometimes the smallest shifts create the deepest transformation. The ritual on the evening of December 18th and the morning of December 19th is not just symbolic, it's energetic preparation. You're not performing a task. You're crossing a threshold. These quiet moments are about returning to yourself with clarity, intention, and readiness for what the universe has been aligning for you behind the scenes. There's no need for anything elaborate. The power lies in the presence you bring to each movement, each word, each breath. Turning off the lights is not just about dimming the room, it's about allowing distractions to fall away so your inner knowing can rise. Lighting a white candle is not just an aesthetic choice, it's a declaration. White is the color of clarity, truth, and surrender. It creates space for honesty to step forward. When you place your hand on your heart and repeat your affirmation 3 times, you are not casting a spell, you are activating your alignment. You are speaking to your nervous system, to your higher self, to the quiet part of you that has been waiting for permission to release what no longer belongs. That simple sentence, I no longer hold what has hurt me, I am ready to step into truth, is more than a phrase, it's a key. One that unlocks the energetic gate between the old story you've outgrown and the new space your soul is ready to inhabit. And the moment you say it with sincerity, you will begin to feel something loosen inside you. Not dramatically. Not necessarily with tears or shaking. But perhaps with a sense of softening, a breath you didn't realize you'd been holding, a warmth that moves through your chest and tells you, you're safe to move forward now. The morning of December 19th is equally sacred. How you begin your day sends a message to the world and to your own subconscious. Choosing not to reach for your phone first thing isn't about discipline. It's about sovereignty. It's about choosing presence before noise, choosing intention before reaction. When your feet first touch the ground and you say, I walk in light. I receive what my soul is worthy of, you are anchoring your next chapter. You're not waiting for fate to act, you're participating in its unfolding. Energy responds to readiness. And rituals, no matter how simple, are portals into that readiness. They give your body a way to understand what your spirit already knows, that you are no longer the person who needed to tolerate what you've just released. And as you speak those final affirmations, I release what hurts. I accept the truth. I choose peace and power. You're not just declaring who you are. You're aligning with what's already on its way to meet you. Numbers, 2, carry their own vibrations. 19 reminds you that a cycle is completing. 20 offers you the rebirth that follows. 222 signals that you are never alone in this process, and 7. Well, 7 is the quiet nudge that something greater is unfolding even if you don't yet see it. You don't need to rush toward what's meant for you. You only need to be still enough to recognize it when it arrives. Let this practice be your sacred pause before everything begins to shift. Not because you forced it, but because you finally aligned with it. If your heart is responding to this now, take a moment to anchor that energy and write it below. I am open. I am ready. I am not afraid of the truth that leads me home. Let that be your signal and your beginning. If this message made you cry, Libra, let the tears come. Don't hold them back. They are not a sign of weakness. They are release. They are sacred. They are a signal that something inside you finally feels safe enough to let go. You are not falling apart, you are coming home to yourself. And that, more than anything, is a rebirth. You see, freedom was never something you had to chase. It was never locked behind a door someone else was supposed to open. It was always yours. But you had to remember. You had to get quiet enough, still enough, honest enough to finally see it wasn't the world that needed to change, it was the moment you stopped dimming your light for places that couldn't hold your truth. Everything that is beginning to fall away now is not a punishment. It's proof that you've outgrown patterns, people, and beliefs that no longer match the frequency of who you're becoming. That love that felt just out of reach? That financial breakthrough that never seemed to come? That recognition you've waited years for? It's not arriving now because you've finally proven yourself. It's arriving because you stopped trying to prove anything. You've accepted that your worth is not conditional. You've remembered that your presence even in stillness is powerful. So the only thing left is this: will you take the next step? Will you step forward not to chase, not to convince, but simply to receive what has always been waiting for you? Because it's closer than you think. And it doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be present. I invite you now to pause, breathe, and ask yourself, not with fear, but with deep trust, what if today was the moment your life started turning toward everything you once prayed for in silence? What if this was the sign you've been asking for, delivered in a form you could actually recognize? Are you willing to stop delaying your own joy until you feel ready? Or can you trust that your readiness is here, now, unfolding in real time? Because it is. And if your heart feels the truth of that, I want you to anchor it by writing in the comments below, I am ready to step into my new destiny. I receive the divine victory that belongs to me. And if someone you love is struggling, waiting for their own sign, their own breakthrough, share this video with them. Because maybe, just maybe, they're standing at the same doorway you once stood at, waiting for the same light you've just found. Before you go, I want to thank you from the deepest part of my heart for being here, for your presence, your openness, your spirit. Every like, every comment, every subscription brings you deeper into this soul-led community we've built together at Zodiac Whisper Tarot. And your support is the reason this channel continues to thrive and send healing messages into the world. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if this message touched something true in you. And remember, Libra, you were never broken. You were simply preparing for a life more aligned with who you really are. The freedom you've been craving isn't out there. It's within you. And today, right here, right now, you have full permission to claim it.